What happened in the Supreme Court chamber yesterday left Chief Justice John Roberts red-faced and trembling with rage, while Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's ice-cold response broke the internet and made history. In 30 seconds, a routine congressional hearing turned into the most explosive political confrontation of 2025. And what Jasmine said next will shock you to your core. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that like button if you're ready to see how a young black congresswoman just changed American politics forever. And don't forget to subscribe because what's coming next will blow your mind. The Supreme Court chamber, usually a place of quiet dignity and whispered legal arguments, exploded into chaos when Chief Justice Roberts did something no sitting Chief Justice has ever done in American history. He screamed, not just raised his voice. He screamed at a sitting member of Congress on live television, his face turning purple with rage as cameras captured every second. But Jasmine Crockett, the 43-year-old freshman congresswoman from Texas, didn't flinch. Instead, what she did next sent shockwaves through Washington and made her an instant global icon. Her response was so cold, so calculated, and so devastating that within minutes, #JasmineClapback was trending worldwide, and Roberts was scrambling to save his reputation. This wasn't just a political moment. This was the day the old guard of American politics met their match in a young black woman who refused to be intimidated. And what you're about to see will show you exactly why the establishment is terrified of leaders like Jasmine Crockett. To understand why this confrontation shook America to its core, you need to know who these two figures really are and why this moment was inevitable. Chief Justice John Roberts, 70 years old, has sat atop America's highest court for nearly 2 decades. Appointed by George W. Bush in 2005, Roberts has carefully crafted an image as the institutionalist, the steady hand protecting the court's reputation while making decisions that shape American law for generations. With his perfectly combed silver hair and measured tone, Roberts represents everything traditional about American power: white male, Ivy League educated, and absolutely convinced of his own authority. But behind that composed exterior lies something darker. Roberts has presided over some of the most controversial decisions in modern Supreme Court history. He's the man who gutted voting rights protections, who allowed unlimited corporate money in politics, and who's watched silently as his court became the most partisan and least trusted in living memory. Critics say he's more politician than judge, more concerned with power than justice. On the other side sits Jasmine Crockett, and she represents everything the old guard fears most. At 43, she's young by Washington standards. As a black woman from Dallas, she brings lived experience that most of her colleagues can't even imagine. Before Congress, she was a criminal defense attorney who fought for ordinary people against a system designed to crush them. She's smart, fearless, and absolutely refuses to play by the unwritten rules that keep people like her quiet and grateful. Crockett burst onto the national scene during her first term in Congress with a communication style that's part legal precision, part social media savvy, and part righteous anger that resonates with millions of Americans who feel forgotten by their government. She doesn't speak in politician code. She tells the truth, even when it makes powerful people uncomfortable. And that's exactly what brought these two into collision. The Supreme Court had just issued a ruling that effectively ended federal protection for reproductive rights in cases involving minors. Roberts, writing for the majority, had used language that critics called callous and out of touch. The decision would force pregnant teenagers to carry unwanted pregnancies to term, even in cases of rape or incest, unless individual states chose to provide exceptions. Congress was holding emergency hearings on the ruling, and Crockett had been invited to testify. But what nobody expected was for Roberts himself to show up, claiming he needed to defend the institutional integrity of the court against congressional criticism. The moment Roberts walked into that hearing room, everyone knew something explosive was about to happen. The Chief Justice rarely appears before Congress, and never to defend controversial rulings. His presence sent a clear message. The court was done being criticized, and he was there to put Congress in its place. Crockett, sitting at the witness table in a sharp burgundy blazer, her natural hair styled in a professional crown, watched Roberts enter with the calm expression of a defense attorney who knows she's about to destroy the prosecution's case. She had come prepared for a fight, but she had no idea Roberts was about to hand her the biggest political victory of her career. The stakes couldn't have been higher. This wasn't just about one Supreme Court ruling. This was about whether America's highest court could continue operating with zero accountability to the people it affects. It was about whether a black woman in Congress would be allowed to speak truth to power, or whether the old boys network would put her back in her place. Roberts thought his reputation and authority would intimidate this freshman congresswoman. He was about to learn that Jasmine Crockett doesn't intimidate easily. The tension in the hearing room was electric from the moment Roberts took his seat at the witness table. Committee Chairman Jim Jordan had insisted that Roberts be given appropriate deference as Chief Justice, but Crockett had made it clear she would ask the same tough questions she'd ask any other witness. The first few exchanges were relatively civil, with Roberts giving his standard talking points about judicial independence and constitutional interpretation. But you could see the frustration building on both sides. Roberts clearly expected softball questions and respectful deference. Crockett was treating him like any other witness whose decisions affected people's lives. The first crack in Roberts' composure came when Crockett asked him about the court's declining approval ratings. "Chief Justice Roberts," she said, her voice steady and professional, "recent polling shows the Supreme Court has the lowest approval rating in modern history. Do you think that might be connected to decisions that seem more political than legal?" Roberts' jaw tightened slightly. "Congresswoman, the court doesn't make decisions based on polling. We interpret the Constitution as written, not as politicians might prefer." "I understand that's your position," Crockett replied smoothly. "But when your constitutional interpretation just happened to align perfectly with the Republican Party platform on reproductive rights, voting rights, and corporate power, can you understand why people might question that?" The room shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the respectful deference Roberts expected. Committee Republicans tried to interrupt, but Crockett